the world for a way out. The lockdowns, the restrictions, everything was just unusual, unfamiliar, and people had issues dealing with the debts, the pressure on the health system, and all of that. Governments being confused, even the best of them, medical facilities being stretched beyond limits. And then there was talk about vaccines, being, worked on. And, that looked like it was the solution. Uhuru, finally, we're going to get out of this. But questions have emerged from the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. That's not the only one, by the way, but that's the one that we're going to be focusing on this morning. Because as I speak, at least 13 European countries have halted the use of the vaccine. They're trying to clarify its safety, seeking further clarification. I was watching TV yesterday. One of the agencies, the European Medicines Agency, said they would have a meeting and they will release the findings of their investigation into cases of blood clots in vaccinated people on Thursday. That's tomorrow. However, it said previously that it was still firmly convinced the benefits of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines outweigh the risk, and there was no indication the jab causes blood clots. So what's happened is about 17 million people across the EU and UK have received a dose of the vaccine, with fewer than 40 cases of blood clots reported as of last week. That's what the manufacturer AstraZeneca said. So we're going to look at this because the vaccines are here now. The import market there in River State. The state government rolled out the vaccination program yesterday. And some people are already expressing concern about if they will take it or not. Some are saying, well, the state governor didn't take a jab, so I'm not going to take a jab. If he threw his weight, around when the pandemic hit, and now that we've got the solution, he didn't show up, then that's a big problem. But we'll look at other matters first before we would possibly mention that. Good morning. I've got my guest with me, Dr. Nsikak. Ntia. Good morning.
Good morning, Anna. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for your time. All right, so we waited. They told us the vaccines were coming. We got, I think, 600,000 short of 4 million doses. Yeah?
Yeah. 3.92 million, I think.
All right, so how would you describe the government's handling of, the vaccine so far?
So I would say that it's never ever 100%. But one of the things that became clearer when it became clear we would receive our first tranche of the Gavi allocation from the COVAX program, there was a bit of organization, and I must commend here Boss Mustafa, Faisal Shuaib, the MPHCD and all of that organization and the states. So the allocations were arrived at, centrally, I would add, and then the mechanism for getting them to destinations were all put together. And they pretty much got there as promised, sort of. I remember the night that Rivers was going to get there, that evening, that was the day they said they would get here. The date, and then they done their flag off and all of that. I've got an appointment for tomorrow, 10 a.m. I think. I hope it holds. Yeah,
you're gonna get a jab.
Yeah.
You've had COVID before.
I've had COVID before.
The groups that need to be covered.
Well, actually, the COVID you've got before should protect you. They say averagely for at least 90 days, if you like. So
you've done 90 days.
I will be 90 days at the end of the month. Yes.
Okay. Almost.
Yeah, almost there. About a week and a half out from 90 days. But then you're also advised to get the vaccine on top of that. So in my case, it will even be like a booster, if you like. So I will get if the appointment holds true, I will get my first dose tomorrow.
Okay, so
as a frontline health worker.
Yes, now that you mentioned that, I recollect that during the restrictions and the lockdown and all the drama that went with it, workers in the oil and gas industry, at some point the governor actually said that they were bringing in the virus. So are they also?
I think we need to be very careful how we use information and data. The oil and gas industry is the industry that tests the most.
Okay.
So you're definitely going to pick up the most cases from that industry because they don't test because you're sick. They test because you have to go test to go to work, right?
So more prevention.
Which is different from the way any other group tests. Okay. Every other group tests because you've been exposed or you have symptoms. The oil and gas industry tests because you need to go to work. So if you look at the NIMA study that came out, from Enugu, Gombe, Nasarawa, and Lagos State, Enugu and Lagos had about 23% antibody prevalence. That means that 1 out of 5, or just above 1 out of 5 people had been exposed or had COVID during the pandemic. For Lagos, that's 4.5 million people. Nigeria's total case count is 160 something thousand now. So it shows you that we're so far from actually identifying the number of people that have had COVID.
Okay.
So in the oil and gas industry, because you're testing, you will find far more people who are asymptomatic but positive and potential spreaders. Right. So you would get that if everybody tested with that same template, you would have a very different picture. So that element of emotional blackmail, I don't bother about that because it doesn't sit with the facts. So the point is that if you test, you will find. Okay. Right.
And government wasn't testing and they're still not testing.
They can't afford to. They can't. It's expensive. It's really expensive. So our model is if you like, the clinical-based model for testing, Nigeria, countrywide. So you test those that have symptoms, those that have exposures. So a primary contact of a known case gets tested. A symptomatic person gets tested. That's a very small fraction. When we know that in Nigeria, something about 8.5 out of 10 people are asymptomatic. So they don't even know they have the vaccine, have a basic sniffle and move on. And that's what the seroprevalence test is showing us retrospectively, right? So if you went, in my small sphere, when we did the antibody thing for a group of people, there were people that were shocked to find out where did I get antibodies from if I never had COVID? They'd had COVID and they didn't know because symptoms were mild. And my last point around this is that if that then holds to be true, then it means that the actual death rate will be far lower than what we are currently counting. Because many people who have had it didn't even bother. They didn't even fall ill enough to take attention. There are some that hit it, but there's some that for most people, it's a sniffle, move on.
Yeah, but there must also be a number that died
without knowing. Oh, I agree. But when you balance it out, for that number of people, think of Lagos, 4.5 million people. If there were deaths to match that proportion, they will be in the streets.
But it depends on the severity now.
I agree. I'm trying to tell you that the paranoia around COVID is because of the severity of symptoms and death. If we say, for example, a regular flu in a flu country kills a certain number of people every year, they know that. That's a tolerable risk. That if you spread out for the people who have had COVID, if we look retrospectively and check the number of people that have died, that death rate will make us think, is it as bad as we think it is? But let's move on. It's controversial.
But this thinking is.
I'm not going to push it. I'm just talking about data, science and data guiding us.
But this thinking is why a lot of people don't care about the precautions.
And that is why the problem with it, we are human beings. We are Homo sapiens. You can struggle with Homo sapiens is to negate our nature. So what we're trying to do is impose a set of rules that negates everything we exist for. The reason we are Homo sapiens is that we're the most social beings on earth. Everything COVID negates the bonds of being social. And because of that, it's a struggle for the regular Joe. We have to invent creative ways to even remain connected and be distant. So physically distant but socially connected. That happens only for the top 10% of society who have all the internet and data and internet and all of that to do stuff. I'm just telling you. So just understand that you're fighting against the tide. And that the real thing now becomes, as with every other big virus that's hit us, historically in our lifetimes, it comes to a point where you find a solution that gives something like vaccinations, that gives you herd immunity, where it now becomes not as bad an illness in society.
All right. So that thinking, does it also affect how some states have responded? Some states got their vaccines a week ago. They just flagged up. Some states, I hear Kogi is the only state that hasn't received theirs because I think they run out of supply, something like that. And so far, I've got just about 10,000 vaccinations done.
In Kogi or in so what you've seen is there's been a bit of a stutter from the time it arrived. NAFDAC insisted on a couple of days of vetting the batch we're dealing with. Remember, even the European issue is around the batch. So vetting the batch that we received with, give or take, I really don't know what they were doing, but, over a few days just to see that it is what it says it is. Now, from what they can see, and then they approved it by the third or the fourth day, and then it became available, and then almost It came in on a weekend or so. Abuja flagged off on the Friday after. That was when Osinbajo got it.
Tuesday.
It came on Tuesday, and I think it was on a Friday. Or it was a weekend. It was a weekend. I remember the flag off because I know that probably in the presentation I was in touch with one of them, and they said that they were waiting for the official flag off from the president and vice president. And then that happened. Then the distribution started. And then Rivers State got there, I think, just about a week ago or so, and all of that. So it's coming here. They've held, and the flag off for Rivers State happened, I think yesterday or so.
Yeah.
The Commissioner for Health, Professor Chike, got his and all of that, and then that sort of. So these flag offs, while I, as a person who is a frontline operations person, I'm like, don't waste my time, please get on with the job. There's an element where it actually helps influence, vaccine uptake. All right, which is why I consider what's happening in the EU now, frankly, shameful. Politically shameful, because I think I have my opinions around what's going on. We'll get to that, I guess, in the course of the conversation. Yes.
All right, so we're looking at the numbers, about 10,000 so far.
It's not as great as it would be, but it was always going to be a bit of a struggle to penetrate and get that. But it would go. The mechanisms are, AstraZeneca we're dealing with, thankfully, better storage parameters than Pfizer or Moderna. And then the chain has been set up, the whole thing has been set up, the portal is working. It's about getting them there and getting you to be fidel to your appointments. Like I'm saying, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at 10 o'clock tomorrow when I go for my appointment. If it's there. The first day of the appointments didn't hold because they were waiting for the flag off first before they distribute. And so I'm hoping that's out of the way now. Hopefully, then that's why I pushed my appointment somewhere down the line after the politics has been done away with. So if it's available by the mechanism they are distributing, they're distributing it to health centers who have the cold chain support systems. So it goes from the main central stores, it goes through the cold box, all the way to the health centers that have the capacity to keep them and store them in the right temperature, and then dispense them, and then take the record and put it back so that the portal can back check and fact check, who's gotten, and then you're sort of ticked off of the group. And then if they do that for the first, get around the first two categories, or first three categories that have been approved in Category 1A, which are the frontline health workers, and then the strategic leaders, and some parts of the military and paramilitary. So that's the first sort of jabs going in. So when you do that and get that first group going and use that to work the chain, then it becomes smoother. We had a start of a few days. I thought it would be farther along than this, as you're very rightly pointing out. But the chain is, where it says central stores is great, because I know the facility is quite decent. But the more peripheral you go, the more you need to be sure that the receiving has have storage to keep it going through at the right temperature for
there needs to be a lot of monitoring.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. They go in and then they stay with temperature logs all the way through, so that you can log it real time at every point in time and look back. There was a point where we lost and for how long, sort of the right temperature, the range where it's supposed to be kept in. All that stuff is very fidel. It's very crucial. It's a big operation, if you like.
All right, so let's go to the AstraZeneca complications that have been reported. I mean, I followed the news yesterday on TV, and I mean, it's huge. What's going on?
I'm not surprised. I didn't think they would go this far, but I knew this would happen. If you check back to Oxford, when the vaccines hadn't come through, everybody was scrambling and everybody was cooperating. Yeah. So for the first time since Second World War, the entire world, literally, in spite of all the differences, they came together and like, have you got a chance to get it right? I want to put 100 million in your box, just so that, you always said, go on. So the EU put 400 million behind AstraZeneca, that research, and then they got their nose in front and got the vaccine. Now, BioNTech, BioNTech is German. So the collaboration with Pfizer and all of that is not purely American. It's BioNTech, Pfizer, it's a German company. And the German nationals, long before this, had been rejecting AstraZeneca, which the EU had fronted. So the EU put money in different places, as everybody did. America put money in every places. I mean, if you came out from Russia and it really worked, they'd scratch their heads, but they would have put money behind it anyway. What I mean is, it was a race to get the vaccine. Yeah. China launched in October. It didn't do well. And they are refurbishing and modifying their vaccine. It's a global struggle. Now the vaccines have come through. We've seen them come through. There's time to now look back at what we refer to as vaccine nationalism. So when the heads of Spain, Germany, Italy, France, Italy sat, I knew that out of that meeting something was going to happen. First of all, the EU has started quarreling with AstraZeneca because of they accused them of not providing enough in the time they wanted as agreed. The agreement wasn't a contract, but it was a good faith agreement, because nobody was sure what was going to happen, if it was even going to succeed. So when it succeeded, they're like, come on, we gave you money. You need to give us this much vaccines, in this real first time. Don't tell me about Gavi and all that. I want mine for my people. Because remember, the vaccine is the key material game changer for returning your economy to something like get back in. Let's even talk about vaccine passports, vaccine, to be able to do some certain kinds of work you used to do previously, you had to have a vaccine passport. Either you've been vaccinated or some sign that you have immunity of some sort. So that you can go back and do frontline work of whatever sort of industry, hospitality, all around the place, even military. So that's the kind of situation that it is. It might be that, and then so to get these vaccines back, that hurdle was at a point in time, it became a really messy argument. Remember the EU secretary saying, if you don't publish it, I will publish what we discussed, if you like, at the time of sponsoring. Now the vaccine has gone, and AstraZeneca has put its nose in front because Pfizer and Moderna are struggling because of the cold chain requirements. So, I mean, Pfizer was set to make something like $15 billion out of this, but they're struggling with the cold chain requirements. So for say developing countries, middle-level countries, even for first world countries, it's a difficult thing to push it to periphery to get 70 degrees sort of minus 20 degrees or more than a minus 20 degrees storage. So AstraZeneca moved its nose in front because they got something that's more put in your basic top fridge compartment. You probably hold. Now that meant that they'll probably get most units sold.
Yeah.
And if that is so, a company that is principally from a country that has left the EU, not amicably, might be the ones to do two things. Profit the most from this, and number two, what is called the vaccine diplomacy. So anyhow you spin it, if this company is in this country, there will be some influence as to how they do the things they do. So I can imagine that one of the reasons UK is ahead of everybody else except Israel in vaccine penetration is that it's in their country, that it was made in their country. So when it comes to the EU, the German nationals have first of all started refusing AstraZeneca, which was what the EU provided first, and then saying they want their own, which is the Pfizer-BioNTech, which unfortunately was wedded to the Americans because they funded it the most. And then they come to the issue of if it's pushing this much, for whatever reason, I don't know the things underhand, or the things we don't know, because if you go back to the issues, the medical issues, for example, every vaccine, everyone, polio, measles, whatever, there's always, if you read any vaccine leaflet, they will tell you, if you react to any component of this vaccine, you would have what we call an anaphylactic reaction. You could go into shock. That's the most dreaded reaction of any vaccine. But if you know your allergy status, your panic, what trips you up, and it matches anything on the vaccine, please don't take this vaccine. If you also go further, that there's always that idiosyncratic sort of group where I cannot foresee this, but 1 in 7 cases what trip this up. 7 is they recorded about 40 incidents now, but Jesus Christ, out of how many million?
17.
Thanks for the figures. So my question is, I'm not saying that any life is, you can spare any life, you can just let it go. I'm not saying that. No, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that for medicine, you get that, you throw caution, you investigate before you throw something like a spanner in the works like this. The problem with this, what they've done and the way they've done it, even the European the EMA, medical agency, has said, we approve this vaccine. We look at everybody signed an EUA to allow the vaccines go to people without the 3rd and 4th level trials. It was because it was an emergency. Yeah. We know that as we go further, when you start doing people like 100,000 people as studies and all that, you'll find a few things here and there. No. It's all for every vaccine. It's been that way. So this hue and cry, like, oh my God, if I give and Nsikak the vaccine, one of us is going to pop up with the blood clock and that. It's just not true. And the way they've done it, so I spent the past 3-4 days convincing colleagues of mine, convincing peers of mine, very well-educated Nigerians who are here, who have said, lie, I will never take that vaccine, and certainly not in Nigeria. So they've added another spin to it. The one they've given Nigeria is even worse than that one that's costing. I mean,
there's that concern as well.
There's a responsibility that a first world country and a first world leader should have to promoting vaccine uptake, even if you personally have reservations. Because the biggest bit, what we are certain of is that COVID, as it spreads, affects a certain number of people, a certain number will definitely die.
Yeah.
There is no one of them that can say that if I give an X number of people vaccinations, X number will definitely have these complications. We've given our president, who's late 70s or 80s, if you know, depending on who you believe, we've given people all over the country top, that's why it is advised that flag it off with a ceremony that involves the big, most influential leaders in town. That's why strategic leaders are in that first bucket. It's one of the reasons why you have strategic leaders in the first category.
Yeah, but we also have this issue of lack of trust.
So
the strategic leaders, they are there. I mean, yeah, but there are other people that people would rather see take these vaccines that would make them believe.
So the point is that the guy who has your biggest visibility very often, I mean, if your president is taking something, it's news. Whoever else you want to see take it, actors, actresses, and all of that. If Ramsey Noah took it, maybe a few more ladies will take it. There's all that smaller pockets, but you can't keep going around like that. Strategically, that's because they also need to be protected because they also interface with so many people, and they have to be able to continue to direct the affairs of the nation. And then frontline workers, health workers, that's a no-brainer. And in that group, those with vulnerabilities, the older ones, and go first. Like in our organization, what we said is that when it comes to us, let the older and ones with clear vulnerabilities go first among the health workers. And then the other ones are younger, less vulnerabilities and all of that, take next because you're exposed anyway. And then then it will go to the older people in society who have vulnerabilities or who are elderly. That way you trickle it down with the highest risk group and you come down that way onto other adults and all of that. In all of this, we've left our kids out and all of that, which is just the way to go. And eventually we will get to that point. But yes, let's saturate the group with the most risk.
All right, a commercial will play, then we'll open the lines. I hope that Dr. Nsikak will be able to convince someone this morning on the need to take the vaccine, irrespective of the hue and cry coming from the EU. 13 countries have suspended the use of the vaccine, saying that they're seeking further clarification on its safety. We're Nigerian for Port Harcourt's biggest conversation. My name is Enoch. Stay tuned. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our...
The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Join Jude from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Let's Talk weekdays. The night is almost done, but conversations are never done on 92.3 Nigeria.
Broadcasted, 24 million of people have received it in the UK. We haven't got blood clots sort of scare as we're getting it in the EU. So are they different? They're Caucasians. What's the difference? So the thing about it is that I'm not going to. That is a distraction. I'm saying it's a very unfortunate distraction. And I'm not saying that countries shouldn't take steps to protect their populations, but I see a slight EU versus UK sort of thing or divide in the way it's being done. Okay. You know. You can say we are looking at this. At least allow the EMA make a statement before the country politicos, if you like, take a stand. And I thought that I'd be sensible. We're guided by science and all that, and not then leave vaccine politics out of this. So in Nigeria and locally, I would say, please. I don't know what the stutter. I call it the stutter because it's a few days behind schedule, if you like. It was scheduled to start going to people's arms in River State, for example, three days ago. I hope it starts today. And I hope that I get mine tomorrow. But make sure that that plan holds. Let people see that plans work. If I get a text message, as I did get, that your appointment is for tomorrow 10 o'clock, I'd like to go there and in Nigeria, see that it works. That begins to convince that once you convince the people who are willing and they take it, the biggest conviction you can get is your next door, your peer, your neighbor, your family member saying, I got mine, I'm fine. There's something called the Tuskegee effect that's affecting African Americans in the U.S. Some very badly handled study in the 1930s and 40s on African Americans, and it was really bad because it was a fraud. And they're all saying, don't you remember that? It's talking about 9 years ago. And people in healthcare, my colleagues in the U.S. are saying, those who have come from Nigeria recently are like, oh, you are not serious. I'm not serious. I don't want to come, But those who have been there are saying, I'm not taking it. Pfizer. So there will always be some conspiracy theory around this sort of thing. There are those who believe that it's one way for the white man to inject something in us that will make us one thing, disappear, die, mutate, whatever. There's always a conspiracy theory. Please, for those, no matter what you do, there will be those. But for those who are willing, give it. Remember, we only need to reach something like 75-80% penetration to make this thing history.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Your guest has spoken very well. I like that his explanation. First of all, when I was a little child, I recall when my parents took me I was sick. I had malaria, I think, and I was supposed to take chloroquine. And then we got to the hospital. I was first tested. And from that day, they warned me, even as a teenager then, the nurse told me, don't take this injection anywhere. You should be first tested before that injection should be given to me. That I have immunity that would not stand that injection in me. Now, I was expecting that we should be tested to know if this vaccine is okay with you. Going by the rumors we are getting now, these are the first things we should do. And why is Nigeria not being moved by what other countries are doing? We didn't provide we didn't produce this vaccine. How come we seem to know more than the people who provide it or who produce it, and even give a warning that people should stand down? How come?
Okay.
How did our NAFDAC that doesn't even know anything about how to protect our common food and common drugs of cancer now know about vaccine? Have we produced anyone before? I'm not taking it.
So there you go. So I could respond to him, but rather than spend this energy, let me give it to his brother, who takes it and is fine and never gets COVID. Let me give it to his wife's brother or his wife or his family. It's like that kind of a thing. And after a while, you find yourself that you're an island. So while I'm looking at this, I'm saying it was produced by a UK company. They have to give 24 million doses. The EU that's talking about this now, they've had 17 million. And the number of cases that's making all of this furore, like I said, the actual reported ones that we document are 7. But 40 have been, or people who have had none of that. And remember, blood clots is something that happens to a lot of people in the Caucasian population a lot.
All right, let's go to the next. Okay, that didn't happen. But someone has a question for you here. Says, after taking the vaccine, do I still stand the risk of getting infected or infecting someone else? If I already have the virus, then if I'm positive, does the vaccine guarantee that I become negative after taking it?
So let's be clear what the vaccine does. The vaccine stimulates what is called an antibody reaction in you, providing you with some degree of immunity to fight against the virus when next it comes at you. Now, if you go to the Israeli study, which has been the most successful country with vaccination currently to date in the world, what they've said, and please read those reports very carefully, they've said it has reduced deaths and severe infections by something in the order of 96 to 99%. Wow. Right? Deaths and severe infections. They were slightly less vocal about infections. Yeah. We know infections potentially lead to this, but if the severity of the infection is blunted, the disease becomes just another diagnosis for us.
All right. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You. This vaccine thing of the thing, I really doubt it. Why do I doubt it? As a Nigerian, I'm so sorry for using that doubting language. This is the only first thing that entered this country that politicians did not hijack. It's just freely by all men. As I am now, they say I can just walk into any health center and get vaccinated. For every other, the common palliative were hijack. Politicians hijack it. Every other that comes to the job, they hijack. But this one, nobody. You should be very careful.
All right.
I'm watching them with one eye.
All right. Keep watching. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's hear you.
Mr. Tangot from Port Harcourt.
All right.
Yes, I've been listening to the program. We that are interested, I'm a frontline worker. I want to have this vaccine. Where do I get it? Since morning I have taken my bed. Where do I go and get this vaccine?
All right. That's all we can take, doctor. So the other person said, and this is the issue: lack of trust in government. They plundered everything, but this one, nobody's hoarding it. Nobody's interested in it. They're giving it freely, and that's a concern.
Isn't that what it should be? But let me say this, please. If you're out there, I beg you, go on the MPHCDA portal, register. MPHCDA portal. MPHCDA. There is a vaccine portal for every Nigerian.
Okay.
Register, put your residence, put the ward in the local government area in which you live. They will send you automatically a suggested health center near you and give you a time slot to book. If you qualify by your profession, by your age, by your vulnerabilities, they will automatically give you an appointment. If you don't qualify, they will send you a message that please, in this first batch, you do not qualify. You would receive a notification when your category becomes in for vaccines.
Okay.
That's how interactive it is. And if it is, please, if you get an appointment, go there at the appointed time. And even if you delay a little bit, please get your vaccination.
All right, thank you, Doctor. I hope your 10 o'clock appointment holds tomorrow. My name is Anil Gwaviri. That's a wrap on the Crossfire this morning. Been talking with Dr. Nsikak and Ntia on the issues surrounding the vaccines. They're here now, and he says, go get yours, and let's reduce severity and deaths. Good morning.